Good day, I'm George Lockhart, Bishop of Church of the Living God, the Pillar and Ground of the Truth. Today, our lesson is the love of money. Our lesson is taken from Joshua 7. Why did God judge the sin of Achan so severely? There was a man named Achan who was after Joshua had led the people out of the land of Egypt and into the promised land, who's responsible for having Israel punished. The story of Achan's sin and God's punishment is found again in Joshua 7. Achan was an Israelite who fought the battle of Jericho with Joshua. God had commanded the Israelites to destroy the entire city of Jericho, no easy feat, because of its great sin. And only Rahab the harlot and her household were spared because she had hidden the Israelite spies. God further commanded that, unlike most victories, when soldiers were allowed to take the spoils, the Israelites were to take nothing from Jericho. Everything in it was accursed or devoted to destruction. God warned that anyone who taking these spoils from Jericho would make the camp of Israel liable to destruction and bring trouble on it. It's found in Joshua 6 and 18. Most of the Israelites obeyed, except for Achan, who stole a beautiful robe and some gold and silver and hid these things in his tent. Remember, they did not have houses because they were wandering in the desert for some 40 years until God would set them up finally in the promised land. His sin was discovered, of course. That's found in Numbers 32. And God commanded that Achan and his entire family and all his possessions be destroyed as punishment. That seemed overly harsh to us today. How are we to understand this dire act of God? There are several reasons for the severe penalty God inflicted upon Achan. For one thing, Achan's sin affected the entire nation of Israel, not just a person. In Joshua 7, God says that the Israelites acted unfaithfully and that his anger burned against Israel. The nation as a whole was in a covenant relationship with God, and when one member transgressed that covenant, the entire nation, and when I say nation, I mean people, the entire nation's relationship with him was damaged. Achan's sin defiled the other members of the community as well as himself. A similar situation is seen in the sin of Adam and Eve and its effect on the whole world of mankind. Adam and Eve's rebellion destroyed the perfect communion the human race would have enjoyed with God. I believe, friend, it was God's intention that man should live forever. But because of Adam and Eve's sin, men had to die. Further, Achan's sin caused God's blessing upon the Israelites to be withheld in their subsequent battle against the city of Ai. And when they were routed by the men of Ai, and they were killed, about 36 of them, they came back, and this is 36 innocent men who died because of Achan's sin. He stole that which was devoted to destruction. Many times we want to take something, but if it has been accursed by God, you don't bother it. God explained to Joshua that is why the Israelites cannot stand against their enemies. In many countries or cities they would have taken. If they lost to Ai, something's not right. If they took down the mighty Jericho, how did they fall to a small city called Ai? We fool ourselves if we think that our sin affects only us. That's the big deception of the devil. The sin affects and infects not only us, but our family, our co-workers, our neighborhood. Sin is bad. There's nothing good about it. The devil wants to take something very beautiful and turn it into something grotesque. Disobedience brings ruin even upon the innocent. Sin's effects go beyond the initial sinner. Also, the gold and the silver Achan stole was stolen from God himself. These precious metals were to be added to the treasury of the Lord, and in stealing them, Achan robbed God directly. Achan's disobedience was also an insult to God's holiness and his right to command his people in the manner he sees fit. Even so, God gave Achan a night to consider his sin and come to him in repentance. That's found in Joshua 7 and 13. But that's what make God so righteous. He says, I have caused it to rain on the just and the unjust. I am God, and I change not. Though thy sins be many, I will throw them into the sea of forgetfulness and shall remember them no more, if you show a repentant heart. Achan did not avail himself to God's mercy and patience, however. The gold and the silver Achan coveted had stronger pull on his allegiance. It's a wonder then that in the face of such insult, God would choose to destroy him. But why, we might ask, did God destroy Achan's family as well? Well, the Bible doesn't give us God's exact reason for destroying Achan's family, although Proverbs 15 and 27 does say that a greedy man brings trouble to his family. In that case of Achan, All we can do is speculate. Perhaps it was an object lesson to the rest of the nation. A lesson they learned after Korah's rebellion, if you remember Korah, and the whole ground opened up and swallowed Korah and that rebellion against Moses, but which needed to be reinforced. Perhaps Achan's children had already begun to exhibit their father's traits of covetousness, bragging on what they'd done, disobedience, disrespect for God's commands. Most likely they had actually helped him hide the stuff again, and in fact was accomplices in that crime. There's no way to know all of God's reasons for what seems to us his harsh punishment of Achan and his family, but he knew their heart. God knows your heart. I don't care what you say, God can see a black cat on a black night on a black rock. He sees everything. That's why when you pour out your soul to God, he sees that also. Someone says, I do not know how to pray. That's okay. God invented every language. He doesn't always explain his reasoning to us, nor does he have to. He says, as heaven is from the earth, so are my thoughts from man's. The story of Achan and many other biblical narratives gives us sufficient information to understand that God is holy and that he is not to be disobeyed without risking dire consequences. In our lesson, the Bible tells us that the love of money is the root of all evil. 1 Timothy 6:10. Do not confuse the object of money. As Solomon reports in Ecclesiastes 10 and 19, this is important, a feast is made for laughter, and wine maketh merry, but money answereth all things. Wow, really? The question is, what will you do to obtain the money? Satan is pure evil. He has a job to do. His goal is to use every tactic to bring you to despair and forget God. Simply. Since the time the devil was cast out of heaven, he has sought constantly to deceive all men and women and to lead them away from the work of God in order to make all mankind as miserable as he is. Read Revelation 12 and 9. Jesus rebuked the devil, and everlasting fire is prepared for the devil and his angels. We must resist the devil, and he will flee from you. The wicked will be brought down into captivity. In a capitalist society, money is the catalyst which drives men from rags to riches. What a valuable tool for the devil to have at his disposal. Thankfully, God has prepared a way for us to avoid all the snares. So the sermon today is based on giving, investing, lending, provision, prospering, worry, suicide, gambling. What does the Bible even mention about gambling? And although the words gambling and gamble does not appear in the Bible, we cannot assume that an activity is not a sin simply because it is not mentioned. Looking at pornography on the internet or using illegal drugs are not mentioned either, but both violate God's laws. Ecclesiastes 5 and 10 says that he that loveth silver shall not be satisfied with silver, nor he that loveth abundance with increase. This is also vanity. Well, gambling simply is you're saying, God, I'm not sure if you're going to take care of me. Isn't it Jesus that said that the birds of the air have no idea what they're going to eat? Not one of them, though, goes hungry. God is our support system. Solomon, who's worth about $800 billion, simply said, vanity is all vanity. It means nothing. In today's lesson, we understand that the love of money is not centered on the actual money itself, but what will you do for money? There's a way out. God is in control.